Hi, welcome back to the channel. I'm Michelle, and today we'll be sharing our homeschool plans for the month of December. So December, the schedule changes a little. Not big adjustments. I'm going to talk about kind of the schedule adjustments we make for December. The big thing we do is a unit study every December, and we look at different things every year. In the past, we've done a Santa Claus study, so we looked at St. Nicholas, the evolution of Santa, the beliefs behind him, all that, the cultural beliefs and everything. We've done Kwanzaa, we've done Hanukkah. We did last year European Christmas, I'll link that up above, where we looked at 3 different European countries and their traditions and customs around the holidays. So my goal with these unit studies is really just to expand my kids' cultural knowledge. We live in a very Christian-centered society, and specifically in my life, we are Christian as well. But I want my kids to understand that's not the only beliefs, that's not only traditions during the winter holidays. I want them to be exposed to a lot more information than just our personal belief system. So I'm going to talk about what we're going to be doing for that. So first, I'm going to start with my son. There's absolutely, my 5-year-old son, no changes to his schedule. I talked about schedules early in the year. This has not changed. He will continue to do his handwriting, explode the code, all by reading level 1. He and Dimensions K and core knowledge, he's finishing up the kindergarten units with the listening and learning strand. So that's not going to change for him. No adjustments for his schedule. Next up will be my oldest child. So this is her present schedule. You can see fall up here. The only changes I'm making for her is we are going to be dropping 2 things for the month of December and then picking them back up in January. And my main goal for that is I want Friday to be our entire unit study day. That we're going to be, because we only have realistically 3 weeks in Christmas because we take that 4th week off because of Christmas. So 3 weeks to accomplish the things in this unit study I want to do, and I really want to dive into our unit study. So the only thing she has on Fridays is math, which is dimensions 6. She has her riding lesson, so again, that takes a chunk of time as well, horseback riding lesson. So I'm going to be removing office, which we've been doing so far this entire year, and that's going well, and learning how to learn. Again, going well, and she's actually pretty far into it. We don't have that much left, but I'm going to be dropping that for the month of December just so we have that Friday free to focus on the unit study. And things do get pretty complicated in December. There's a lot going on. So I just want that freedom to have that Friday available. And those things we can definitely pick up in January without an issue. The only other thing we'll be switching is we're also going to be taking out art and social justice just for the month of December. Again, that's just to lighten the load of December because there's a lot going on. So we are currently working through this. We are almost done. So we'll pick this back up in January, and same thing with art. We've been doing art every week since the beginning of school, when we started in August. We will pick that back up in January. So to give you an idea of this is what her schedule will look like for fall, and this is what it looks like for December. Again, I use these, I make them on Canva. It's a free template. This year the kids decide to decorate them themselves for December, so you can see this is what my 12-year-old chose. So everything is pretty much the same. Only difference being is there's no social justice, there's no art for group subjects, and you can see here I took out her learning how to learn and Microsoft Office off Friday, and I removed math from Friday as well. But you can see our unit study this year will be elf culture, which I'll be getting into in a little bit. So that's the only changes to her schedule. Now, my 9-year-old daughter, this was her original schedule. Changes to her schedule are, again, group subjects, social justice, and art will be put down until January. We will pick up elf culture on Fridays. Again, math and handwriting and spelling will no longer be on Friday because Fridays is just that elf culture unit study. So this is a look of hers, and she designed it herself as well. So Friday's wiped free. Friday's wiped clean except for that old elf culture. And the only other difference, and I did kind of move a couple things around, science and history, I think I moved slightly to her normal schedule, but she's still doing math, she's still doing handwriting, still doing all about reading level 4, still doing Michael Clay Thompson, all about spelling, history, science. She's still doing all those things. The switch we made for her for December is we were doing the Lit House Learning Studies, novel studies, which were working really well. She really enjoyed the books. Everything went well. We finished 3 books. We did 2 Heartwood Hotel books and The Way of the Hive graphic novel. Great. But in The Way of the Hive graphic novel, she did approach me and she's like, the lab books are kind of feeling like busy work, which again, I can understand. When we started, she was really into it, but it's kind of grown to that mundane that she's not really getting anything from it. It's fun to color and put the things in, but she's like, I'd rather just get to my other work instead of doing this. So I think that's really important to keep in mind because I do think a lot of people with the neurodivergent kids, she has ADHD, think you have to like have this colorful, fun, hands-on activity stuff all the time. She's telling me that's not what she wants. She wants to just get to it. Language arts is not one of those areas she wants to do all these little side projects in. History and science, absolutely. She spent last week in history 45 minutes building a Lego canal for history out of Legos, and like it would hold water and everything. That's where her passion lies, not necessarily with lap books and notebooking. So I'm like, yeah, that's completely fine. And I was looking at it, I was like, well, if we remove the lap books, and the activities are pretty easy for her at this point. I could level her up, but again, I was looking at the activities again, and they just weren't fitting to what I wanted for her. So we made a change for that, for Lit House Learning, and I will turn the camera around and show you my plans for her for reading specifically, because she's still doing all about reading level 4. She's still doing Michael Clay Thompson for grammar instruction. She's still doing all about spelling for spelling instruction. So what am I doing specifically for reading? I'm going to turn you around and show you. You can see here, the only thing I'm talking about here is lit. So it's the same thing. We just changed what we're using. So I went with Earth and Story. This is a 3rd grade unit. And the issue I had with this is it's not going to take us very long. There's 3 books in here. That's not going to, because we're starting this, we've already started this now, that's not going to take us into Christmas break. So I had to figure out what we are going to do for the 2 weeks before Christmas break. So when this ends, but before Christmas begins. So I'll talk about that too. So I put the binder together. Again, we've already started this. And so far she's liking it. So we did the questions orally. So, and this is only 3 days a week. So we did the Billy Goat Scruff for the first 3 days. Next week will be Pancake. The week after that will be The Sheep and the Pig Who Set Up Housekeeping, and that's a reminder of a book I need to get. So she's going to be doing that for reading. But also, there was a component of writing. Oh, for that, I went ahead and got, you can see the W here, Hearth and Story, 3rd grade writing, and we're going to see how this goes for her for writing instruction. Again, we've only done the first week so far, but so far, so good. So she's doing that for reading and that for writing. And that will take us up until 2 weeks before Christmas. So what am I doing for that 2 weeks? For that 2 weeks, we'll be doing a novel study that I put together. It's going to be The Nutcracker and the Mouse King. I have the book, got it off Thrift Books already. It is a graphic novel, which she really likes, and she's obsessed with the Nutcracker. She loves the music, she loves watching the movie, she loves the ballet, all things to do with it. So I thought it'd be really cool to do a novel study for her, specifically about the Nutcracker. So I kind of broke down what I wanted to do for it. So you can see we have 2 weeks. We're going to be doing it Monday through Thursday, because again, we have that unit study on Fridays. And then I broke it down by week. So week 1, we're going to look at the history of nutcrackers, and I have YouTube videos about how nutcrackers are made, educational videos related to that. And then week 2, we're going to look at the history of Nutcracker ballet, and then we have YouTube videos related to the actual ballet of it, and also a couple instructional videos of basic ballet techniques from that specific basic ballet techniques from the Nutcracker. So we're going to read 2 chapters daily. So she'll read 2 chapters in this daily. And then I have comprehension questions Thursday. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday she'll read the chapters. And then Thursday we're going to watch those related YouTube links to it. And then for comprehension questions, I just used a quick ChatGPT to get a general information of. I quickly used ChatGPT to come up with just a basic comprehension questions for the specific chapters we're going to be covering, and I printed that out so we can have some discussion about it, just prompts for the discussion. And then the last day, she will actually paint. The last day, she will actually paint a Nutcracker. So I got this at 5 Below. It's pretty big. Back that up for you. And we'll probably switch out the paint for this just because I doubt it's pretty decent, but I thought it'd be really cool to end the unit by she can make her own Nutcracker and it can be part of our holiday decor from there on. But that is the plan for a unit study for the last 2 weeks of December before Christmas break, and I think she's really going to enjoy it. But I will say it takes a lot of effort to put unit studies together. So kudos to the homeschool moms out there that do a lot of this. I find it a lot of extra work, but I think she's really going to enjoy that. So that's her change for December, and I will update to see how things go with that. So on to the last thing. So that takes us to the last part of December, which is our unit study. And as you can see from the things I've talked about, we're doing an elf culture unit study. And this is for a couple of reasons. My 9-year-old is obsessed with elves. And it was funny, we were reading a Christmas book, I think it was a couple years ago, and there was pictures of elves in the book, and she looks exactly like one of the pictures of the elves. So she now has a theory that in former life she was an elf, and it's funny because her ears are slightly pointed at the end and everything. So I figured, much like the Nutcracker, this is her interest, something she's passionate about. So let's lean into that, and then my other 2 kids can join us as well. And of course, like I talked before, I want to talk about different cultures, different belief systems, all these things expose my kids to. So I don't want to just look at, the history of Christmas elves. I don't want to just look at Elf on the Shelf. I want to look at, in literature, history, belief systems, elves throughout that. So that was kind of my idea. I want to bring in some educational elements into elf culture. So I will take you to my computer and show you how I broke that down to kind of figure out what I wanted out of it. I don't want just like a happy, I don't want to say meaningless, but just like fluff-filled unit study. I want this to be of purpose. Again, when we spend our time on things in homeschool, I want it to be meaningful, not just fluff. I want them to be getting things out of it. And again, with these specific unit studies, I want cultural exposure for my kids. So I'm going to take you to my computer and show you my plans for that. So as you can see here, I put a Word document together for our unit study. This is just a way for me to organize my thoughts, kind of lay down on paper everything I want to do. And then, since I have a digital copy, I can use it in future years if I choose. So, elves. So I have a list of books we're going to use, and then broken down by week, what we're going to cover, and then I go into the specifics of every week. So for week 1, we're going to look at the history and origin. So we're going to look at Norse mythology. We're going to look at Celtic. We're going to look at Tom Tooth. And then I do have some YouTube video links talking about those specific Norse mythology, things like that. And our activity, so I want history for each week. I want some educational videos associated with that, and I want an activity. The activity we're going to be talking about for week 1 is they're going to draw, watercolor, paint, whatever they want to do, an elf picture and traits. Because especially with the Norse and Celtic, we're going to be going over a lot of different ideas around elves and how they're portrayed and what traits they have. So they're kind of going to create their own elf character, and then we're going to compare that to, at the very end, what that looks like once we've gone through all this elf culture, their ideas of what an elf looks like. So week 2, history, we're going to cover kind of medieval to early modern. So the books for that, we're going to be doing, let's see here, was it Elves and the Shoemaker? We're going to be doing Midsummer's Night's Dream, what the kids are familiar with. We've done an entire Shakespeare unit on that in the past. We've watched the movie. So we're going to look at those depictions of elves. And then the fun activity for that is I have an elf application. Just found it free online where they kind of fill out what kind of elf they would be. And again, it's taking those traits we learned from the previous week. You know, are they magical? Are they mystical? Or what are their specific traits and what kind of elf would they be? So week 3, we're going to talk about pop culture. So we're going to talk about Tolkien, which again works perfectly because my oldest just finished reading The Hobbit. We're going to talk about fantasy, so Dungeons and Dragons, role-playing games. We're going to talk about Santa. How did elves get associated with Santa Claus and Christmas and all that? So we're going to look at the poem, "'Twas the Night Before Christmas." Again, that's one of the first depictions you see of elves and Santa together. We're going to look at some primary source documents from HarperCollins magazine, where we're starting to see elves portrayed as Santa. So I have all these things saved in YouTube's links or bookmarks on my computer. And then since we're talking about Santa and the introduction of Santa and elves, we're going to read the book, The 12 Slaves of Christmas and The Elves' First Christmas, to kind of get that depiction of Santa and elves and the evolution of that. And then the activity we're going to do, so every year the kids do an activity that becomes a decor item for the winter holidays for us. So last year, European Christmas, we did a lot of recipes from those countries. So we did Poland, we did recipes specific to that area. So we didn't really have something to save, although they really enjoyed the Stalin bread, and we will continue to make Christmas Stalin bread. But in previous years, we've done St. Nicholas. We did a St. Nicholas quilt square. We've done things for Kwanzaa, where the candle pieces. So I like putting those pieces up every single year as a reminder of what they've learned, but also cultural representation of different ideas and beliefs, that it's not just Santa on our wall, it's not just Jesus on our wall, it's a combination. So they grow up in an environment where it's normalized to have different beliefs, traditions, and cultures. So our activity is we're going to be doing So we're going to be doing this elf pin craft, as you can see here. Now at this point, this is week 3. We've gone through the history of elves. We've looked at cultural traditions of elves. We've looked at modern pop culture interpretations of elves. So I'm curious to see at the end, after we've gone all through this, what do their elves look like? Are they going to look like the more pop culture Elf on the Shelf or Elf the movie? Or are they going to look more of the Nordic or Celtic versions or gnomes that we talk about in some of that history? I want to kind of revamp their idea of what an elf is. So I'm curious to see how their clothespins end up. So that was kind of the breakdown. That's where I started. I know I wanted to cover history. I know I wanted to have educational videos. And I know I wanted to have an activity that goes with that. So I broke that down even further. Again, I utilized ChatGPT to help me outline a plan for my kids, because now I have the information, I have the websites, I have the things I want to use. How do I organize that? And that was actually really helpful in helping me organize it. I don't think, asking ChatGPT to write a curriculum or to write a unit study for me is a good idea, because it's a computer. You have to fact check yourself. You need to know your resources, all that. So I'm not advocating doing that. But I did use it to organize my schedule so I could better figure out where the information was going to fall. Because again, we have that one day. Now you see it says day 1, day 2, day 3, etc., day 4. We're doing that in one day. That's one of the reasons I decided to do the Friday, because that's all we're covering. So we're going to do, I like this idea of brainstorming. So what do we think about elves? What do we know about them? Discussion, and then going into Norse mythology, Celtic, elves, and other traditions. Some basic, discussion questions. Again, the point isn't to be filling out worksheets with this or writing papers. It's to have exposure to cultural traditions, beliefs, That's my main goal of these unit studies. And so week 2, we're obviously doing medieval to early modern. So we're going to look at Elves and the Shoemaker, Midsummer's Night's Dream, and then that's where they're going to do an illustration of what they consider an elf. Week 3, it's going to be modern fantasy pop culture. I talked about Tolkien. We're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons. For this activity, they're going to create a fantasy-based elf, so something you would see in more of a role-playing type game. And then we're going to end it with pop culture references. So we're talking about Elf, the movie. They've seen that. Elf on the Shelf. My 9-year-old particularly is interested in Elf on the Shelf. So what is the origin story of Elf on the Shelf? How did we get that area in pop culture? That's part of it. And then the wrap-up is pretty much how have elves changed over time and why do they continue to captivate our imagination? I think that's a really good ending point. And that's when they're going to build or make or paint, create those clothespin elves that will become a decor piece every holiday season. How do they see it? I want to see their interpretations of it after learning all of this. So as you can see, there's also a book here for me. This one is something I will be reading during this elf unit study. It doesn't have anything in particular to do about the history of elves. It's just a cute holiday rom-com romance book. So I thought it would be fun to include myself that I get a special book to read as well. But it has absolutely nothing to do with our unit study. It just has an elf theme to it. So those are my plans for our homeschool for this December. So again, bringing some new stuff in, and I'm really excited about the unit study. I think all the kids are really going to enjoy kind of learning all the different elements of elves. So if you have any specific questions about anything I talked about, let me know in the comments down below. If not, thank you for watching.